I do sort of appreciate when you assign like strokes and fills to this. It's sort of akin to CSS, where you add multiple stroke elements or you remove multiple stroke elements as opposed to just like one contributing
Okay.
factor.
I
Allows
think
you
of
to do cool things like,
CSS.
sorry.
I think of CSS a lot when I'm designing in Figma. Just with the way frames work and the auto layouts and groupings. I think that's well, you know it too. That's some experience that's definitely that's experience that's paid off for me over and over and over again throughout my career, I gotta say. Just front end development. Not that I would be any good at it anymore.
Well, I agree because
But you get it.
your goal in UX design is to make something that your development team can make. And I think if you're just coming out of left field saying like, no, I think this is a really cool custom element, or I've checked some stuff out, and you're not really paying attention to like how this stuff comes together, you're going to have a lot of troubles. I mean, you know what it's like. This used to be a problem back in the day. You show up to get something developed and you've created this wacky design in Photoshop that you as a designer think is just the bee's knees and nobody can possibly make it. I think for designers, it's essential that you have some sort of understanding of like front end HTML5 CSS stuff. And it's even more complicated nowadays. I mean, it's not HTML5 CSS anymore. It's React front ends. You know, it's understanding grid systems and sort of more complicated CMS systems. And that's what designers should think. Rant of the day. Here's what you need to know.
I agree, Nick.
Know those things.
And I'm glad I don't
You
have to
should be
deal
able
with...
to write CSS.
You should be able to write a little CSS and understand it. I'm glad I don't have to deal with React and all that jazz anymore. The full extent of like we were using like Sass and less, which was awesome. That's like componentized CSS. It's like making components is like a lot like using CSS and like less or Sass with the variables. And especially like with responsive design and stuff, it's a pretty good analogy. But knowing how stuff works and how stuff comes together, if you can do front end CSS and HTML and like basic, like set up a WordPress site and just mess around with the blog, like the loop that do they even call it the loop anymore? I don't know, but just even being able to cut and paste like snippets and understand like how dynamic content from a CMS like looks like in code, like little code snippets and tags and whatnot, and then how that gets displayed on the front end of the website. Understanding how all of those pieces work together and like will help you understand databases and dynamic content and how to design for it. I think it's super valuable for me, like every day, just being like, oh, if you do this and then that's what happens in the back end, and if we want this data to be searchable, then we need to put it in separate fields so that it can be like parsed and whatnot and blah blah blah. So yeah, the whole learn to code thing.
Yeah, I've gotten laughed at for calling CSS and HTML code, but I think everybody should feel comfortable calling it coding.
It's code enough for me.
It's code enough for me. I'm writing letters and putting brackets around things to create not statements, but it's
a markup language.
It's a markup language.